Welcome back to The Farming Lawyer. I'm your host, Attorney Craig Steger, practicing in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. So today I want to talk about AI in farming and what, say, benefits and risks to farming there is for things such as AI, automation, things of that nature. So this last week I was in a conference in Charleston, South Carolina for a conference just on AI in the practice of law. And it was a very eye-opening experience for me. There was a lot of things that opened my eyes to the possibilities, as well as some of the risks and pitfalls. But as a general proposition, there is much more potential and possibility with AI in the practice of law than I think there are risks, even to, let's say, the jobs of lawyers and their staff. I think as a whole, AI is going to make the practice of law and also the experience of clients better, because I think AI is going to make the quality of legal services better, be done much more quickly and at a more affordable price. So it got me thinking, what about farming? What about the farming industry, and how is AI being used and could be used in the future as it pertains to farming, especially smaller scale farms? So one of the things I learned at this conference is that, and I think this is true in whatever industry you're in, whether it's law or farming, but let's just talk about law for a second. The large corporate law firms are spending a ton of money right now on AI. And those of us that are small firms are never going to be able to compete with that. But there is something useful and beneficial about being smaller when it comes to AI, because we're more agile and able to implement it more quickly and more tailored to our own particular needs. And I think the same is probably true in farming. Now, farming has obviously changed a lot from the standpoint of technology since I was a farm kid 30, 40 years ago. Self-driving tractors and GPS guidance systems and things like that. A lot of automation, a lot of technology in combines and tractors and things like that. Corn dryers, even robot milkers and all that kind of stuff has really changed a lot. And I think people have mixed feelings about it, primarily from the standpoint of its cost and long-term sustainability. And in some ways, that has been a similar effect in the law as automation has become more and more common, technology, software, programs like that. But AI just is a little bit different, and I think in many ways can be the great equalizer in a race towards automation and machines and robots, because it can really help the individual and small group of people to maximize what they're doing and think of things that they may not have been thinking about otherwise. And so I'm curious, for those that are interested in AI or maybe not interested, in what are your feelings of AI in farming? How are you using it? How do you anticipate using it? And how might that change how you farm, both from an economic standpoint as well as just a general lifestyle standpoint? But I was thinking, I think there are some things that farmers might want to seriously consider when it comes to AI that are very cheap, very easy to use, and could make a dramatic difference for you in the same way that these tools have really helped me in the practice of law. For example, ChatGPT, probably the most common AI program out there. Most of us probably have the app on our phone. Pay to get the professional account is probably only $20 a month, but have conversations with it. Talk about your farming operation. Tell it the type of farm that you have, the acres, the crops, soil, weather, prices. Get as much information as you can and ask it to brainstorm with you. What are some things that I should be looking at in my farming operation, either to improve productivity or efficiency or cut costs or all of that? You might be surprised at what ChatGPT or one of the other models can do for you, and think of things that you haven't really thought about, or maybe think about it in different ways. And so I think in many ways that can be a really big asset in terms of just trying to brainstorm things and think a little outside the box, which I think in a special way, small farms, family farms are going to have to be even more cognizant of as sort of big farms get bigger, margins get smaller, using every advantage you can, try to find an angle that works best for you and to exploit the advantages that you might have as a small. Here's another example. Let's suppose you're thinking about buying a piece of equipment and you're trying to decide between different makes and models, or maybe new versus used. ChatGPT can be a really great resource to kind of walk through and ask it, help me identify the different things I need to consider in terms of price, financing, upkeep, maintenance, depreciation, things like that, and ask it to help you compare the pros and cons of different options. It's not great at telling you what to do. It's not great at giving you, making judgment calls, but it's really, really good at analyzing information and data and giving you kind of things to choose from. So if you use AI not to tell you what to do, but to give you a detailed breakdown of the options that you're considering, I think you might find that really, really helpful. Here's another thing, and this is something that I do in my practice. So I'm holding up here, this is called a Plod. It's a recording device, and I use it for pretty much all of my meetings, phone calls. And so you can record meetings. Let's say you go in to talk to your banker or your agronomist or your nutritionist, maybe your insurance agent. This is a great way to record those conversations. Now, make sure that if you're going to do it, if you're not going to let the other side know, make sure that it's legal in the state that you're going to do so. But if it's permissible to do so, or you have their permission to do so, record those conversations. Use something like this. Maybe you do it for your own meetings. Maybe you use it to jot down your own thoughts. What can happen then is this will automatically transcribe those conversations. It's really, really good. It can also create action plans, summaries, things like that, that you can then incorporate back into, let's say, your chat GPT or things like that. So I find this to be an extremely useful resource to record conversations, or maybe you're going to a lecture or a meeting, a presentation. Bring this along, bring something like this along and record it, or record it on your phone and then upload it to ChatGPT. Ask it to give you a transcript and then work with that. So after you have a transcript, say, here's my problem. Please identify some solutions from this presentation or ideas that I can use to try to get to overcome this issue. That's a really great way to use technology and AI to help you retain information and process it and make the best use of that information going forward. I'm sure that there is the technology changes, robot feeders, robot milkers, and things like that, that there is going to be AI used to also anticipate problems before they exist or troubleshoot problems when they do arise that might further reduce the need for human oversight, human intervention, and things like that, and allow you more freedom over the type of life that you want to have and the activities you want to do on your farm. AI can be a great way to train new workers, train employees, teach new skills. Maybe you're hiring new milkers or people to run tillage and things like that. AI can be a great way to create training for them. So one of the things you can do is record a video explaining it, and then you can use AI to help summarize that, create key points, create slideshows, things like that. One of the things that I used recently that was really remarkable that you might consider is when I was preparing to take my exam for my commercial driver's license. I uploaded the entire Wisconsin commercial driver's license manual, like 200 pages, and I uploaded it to a program. I use Notebook LM. It's a Google program. What's really cool about that program is you can upload the entire manual and ask it to provide you with audios, and I think it does videos now, but let's say a podcast format explaining the key points of that. So like what I did, for example, I said, make me an audio all about the requirements for air brakes. And the other one, I had one on, articulated vehicles. The other one was like maintenance, things like that. You can really take, if you have something in writing, especially if it's a large document, you can use it to create summaries and even audios and visual materials that you can use to either teach yourself or teach your employees and staff, and make sure everyone is doing things the way that you want them to do. So that's another possible use of AI in your farming operation that you might want to consider. Another thing that you might consider doing, and there may already be programs for this, but even without, you may be able to create a chat GPT project and input all the information that you would normally input when you're deciding on the crops to plant for a particular year and what to put in terms of fertilizer and what to do in terms of tillage and all that. You could input weather information, prices and future projection, input cost, weather, and ask it to, let's say when you're sitting down to develop your crop plan for the next year, kind of have the conversation with ChatGPT and explain, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking corn in this field and this much fertilizer or whatever. Ask it to give you its recommendations, or ask it to give you a detailed analysis, pros and cons of this versus that, and see how it matches up to what you would do, and then compare at the end of the year. I think the more information you put in, especially like historical information on crop production, weather, prices, cattle, if you're, let's say, milking cows or raising beef, add that information and data and allow it to help you in the process, not to replace your judgment, but to augment, help it, and challenge it and test it. That's another way that you can use ChatGPT and other AI programs as part of your farming operation, because there's a lot of stuff that is just kind of a judgment call. It's you have to kind of like use your gut or follow your instincts, whatever the case may be. The other thing that I think you might find really useful is and this is where AI really excels: processing, organizing, and digesting large amounts of data, information, spreadsheets, could be past milk records, whatever, things like that. Use it to process that data for you and put it in tables, formulas, or charts, things that are actually useful, and then continue to work with it. Continue to ask questions about it. Ask it to give you input on things that you might be looking at to try to improve efficiency, improve production, reduce costs. That's another way you can do, especially if there's large volumes of documents. Use one of the AI programs or multiple, compare different AI programs. I do that all the time. I might run a query on one, run the same query on another one, and then compare the results. I think AI in a special way has a lot of potential, especially for smaller farms, to try to find those little spots where that can be the difference between a successful farming year and an unsuccessful one. To don't be afraid to try things. Get ChatGPT, get Perplexity. Maybe you get a recording thing like this. If I think of it, I'll put a link to this in the description if you want to go check it out. I have another one, the other one that goes around your neck and you can kind of press on it. I carry that with me a lot just to record ideas and things that I have. Maybe I don't come back to it, but at least I have that. That's a really, really useful thing to have that you might want to consider. Just try to have an edge and to try to keep up with changes that that your larger competitors are already doing, are going to be doing. So those are some thoughts and tips I had. I'd be curious what you guys think, what your experience has been thus far with AI, what your concerns are, possibilities are, things that you're wondering, can AI do this? Leave it in a comment, send me a message. I'll see if I can figure that out for you, because I really think this is really exciting times in many ways, and I have a lot of optimism, and I hope you do too. And so I hope this video can help other people feel optimistic and maybe think outside the box and try these things, because they're not very expensive and they're fairly used. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching. And until next time, everyone, have a good one.